everyone, thank you all again for joining me. I'm Sheesh with Sheesh So Crafty. I'm coming back to you all today with a video from one of the suggestions that I had received in a previous video that I made. I wanted to show you all how to sublimate the bottom of the tumbler as well as the side at the same time and see if that works or not. I'm using one of the suggestions. So if you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe button below as well as the bell notification, so that way once I post new videos, you'll be one of the first people notified. Also, I know yesterday was a very exciting day. I had reached over 1,000 subscribers, and I said that I was going to post a video later that evening, and I had well intentions of doing that. However, this happened. Yes, he proposed to me yesterday, so I was super excited and a little distracted, so I didn't have the opportunity to post this video, so I'm going to post it this morning for you all, and I really hope you all enjoy it. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to show you how to do it step by step from the very beginning of actually creating the decal for the bottom. I do already have my sublimation transfer or my design for the sides printed off. However, I will still go ahead and show you how I'm going to sublimate the entire cup, the top, the bottom, the sides of it, as well as the bottom of it at the same time. So that way we'll see if we can conquer that bottom of the tumbler being sublimated. So stay tuned and we'll go ahead and turn this camera around and get started. Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen. I am using the Silhouette Studio Basic Edition. I have not had a need to purchase any advanced edition yet. However, with more complicated projects that I'm beginning to do, I think I may have to upgrade here soon. But for this purpose, I'm just going to use the basic edition because that's what I've always just used for all of my projects. And what I want to first show you all is my page setup. So when you first receive or open the Silhouette Studios, it may look like this because it's set for a cutting mat. Media size is 12 by 12. But because I'm using a sublimation here and I'm using a sublimation paper that's a letter size, which is 8.5 by 11, I'm going to go over here to where it has the page with the corner up in the corner and it says page setup. And then what I'm going to click on is I'm going to skip the first two. I'm just going to go down to number 3, media size, and I'm going to select letter. Again, that's because, like I said before, I am using the A-Sub Eco 8.5 by 11 paper, and that's the same exact size as my sublimation paper, or on here as a letter. So also when you receive when you open your Silhouette Studio, your format may look like this. It may be to the side, your orientation may be landscape. Because my printer is a rear feeder and it prints straight up and down just like this, I changed my orientation to be portrait. That way it feeds just like, or it prints just like it feeds, and there's no cutoff. So what I'm gonna do is I have measured the bottom of the actual tumbler. In the middle is 2 inches diameter, and on the outer parts, it is 2 inches and 3/4 for my particular tumbler, which is a 20-ounce tumbler. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here to the left-hand corner and to our drawing tools, and you'll see several different drawing tools. I'm gonna go ahead and just select the oval or circle, whatever, and then I'm gonna utilize that. Now, what you can do is you could just go ahead and draw out your circle. However, one thing that I have noticed is when you're pulling out your circle, say you move it upward or downward, it's going to be more of an oval shape. So I have found the easiest way to just go ahead and use this is to hold down your shift key. And while you're holding down your shift key, draw out your circle. That way it gives you a completely equal circle all the way around. The diameter is going to be exactly the same. And then all you have to do is just go up to the top and just type in your measurements. And I did type in 2.75 there. And so what I'm going to do is draw an inner circle of 2 inches exactly. And then if it's offset, you can just click and grab both of them and then use that center button up there. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and grab our text icon, and we're going to just type in our text. I'm going to type Sheesh So Crafty. I'm going to change the color to black so that way you can actually see it. And then here I'm just going to make it smaller. Now, what I like to do is I like to make sure that my letters are spaced out. So you can do it like that, but you see how when it moves, it makes the letters look all jumbled. So over here on the right-hand corner, go to your text style, and it gives you all different options that you can use. Some of the options are listed at the top as well, but there's more here, including the line spacing as well as the character spacing. So this is what I'm going to increase so that way I have that spacing in between each letter. So when I go to make it smaller, it's not bunched up. It doesn't look too jumbled. So then you want to double click it. And then once it gets into that text format, you want to click on this little cursor here until it turns orange and drag it up to your line. As soon as it hits that line, it's going to warp into the size or the shape of the actual shape that you have on your page. So then what I'm going to do is drag it to the inner circle so that way it's on that line. And over here you can use this little icon. You can barely see it, but that allows you to move it a little bit more inward if you want, or outward. And what I'm going to do is just drag it just a tad bit outward so it's right in between both of those lines. I may need to make my text smaller, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and just use what I have. I probably should make it a lot smaller, but I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that and put that on there. Yeah, see, I should make it a little bit smaller just because there's no spacing in between it. It all looks jumbled. So I'm going to double click on here again. I'm going to double click on here again and then make that smaller, and double click on that one to pull that out and make it smaller. And then I'll go ahead and drag that back up and then place that on my line, and hopefully we'll have just a little bit of spacing. Yep, so you can see now where there's this spacing in between, so it's not all together. I could probably make my text still a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and do that. It could even be smaller than that, but for now we'll just leave it like that. And so then that's what we're going to do. So then I'm going to go ahead and just print this, or I'm going to show you how it looks, because once it prints, you're not going to see any of those circles on there. So I'm going to go ahead and group those together and move that to its place. And it didn't group at first for me, so I'm going to hold my shift key and grab both items and then group it together. And now I'm going to go ahead and delete just that main circle. There is still a smaller circle in the middle, but that doesn't bother me because it won't print. And now you'll see when I'm moving it around, it looks like it's going to shift and it may mess up, but it always goes back to the exact size or the exact style. So then on here, what I have is I just filled my page with that same print or that same design, so that way I don't waste one sheet of paper. And I'm going to go ahead and print it. That way I have several different ones I can use on my tumblers. And then once that is printed, we'll come back and we will go ahead and get that pressed. All right, so now that I have that printed off, I went ahead and cut out a few of those circles so that way they're already ready. I have those here. I'm only going to use one of those. And then I have my tumbler and I also have my design. And now I'm going to go ahead and use my actual paper cutter. This is probably the best investment I've had so far, rather than just using circles or scissors. It makes it so much easier to just go ahead and just cut off those edges in one straight shot. As long as you line it up correctly, it does. And I love it so much. So I'll post a link below in the description to tell you exactly where I purchased it from and how much it was. So that way, if you're interested in it, you can go check it out. You may be able to find it cheaper on Amazon. But yeah, this is where I found it. I found it at Target. So go ahead and check that out. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped on the tumbler itself with the bottom. And then I'll be right back so we can go ahead and get that pressed. All right, so now I have the entire tumbler wrapped, including the bottom. I do have my seam laid out. I have the top pressed down very well. So what I'm going to do is just go over with my nail, as I said before. For me, this just works. I feel like it just gets it exactly where I want it to be. And now that we have that pressed, we're going to go ahead and, now that we have that pressed down to the seam and the edges, we're going to go ahead and get the pressing actually started. So I have to heat up my Cricut mug press. I thought I had it heated up before, but I didn't, so I'll be right back once that has been completely heated, and then we'll go ahead and get that started. All right, so now it is heated up, it's ready to go. I have, like I said, my entire thing taped up. I went ahead and taped up the entire bottom of it. I have my cardboard pieces. Again, like I said, I just use what I have on hand. Use whatever you feel is going to help you out. I have invested in some silicone wraps as well as silicone placemats or whatever they're called. So then that way I can utilize that. But for now, I'm going to use a cardboard. And then as you can see on the bottom, that silver plate is there. So what I have figured out is if I actually move my tumbler up some, don't have it directly on the bottom, I'm going to wedge my cardboard in all the way on the bottom. But as far as the tumbler, I want to have that up off that plate. So you'll see that I'm going to lift it up some. That way, there's no ghosting at the top. This way it's actually hitting that heating element directly. And I'm going to actually let this go for 1:30 seconds, just so that way I make sure for a fact that there's not going to be any ghosting on the top. So we're going to let that go for the remainder time, the 1:30 seconds, and then we'll come back and we'll flip it over or turn it around so that way we can do the other side. And again, like I said, I only do it in 4s. All right, so that has finished. And now we're going to go ahead and flip it around. We're going to do this side because we only do the one side, and then you turn it around and do the other side, and it gets both sides for you. There's no unevenness or anything anywhere. So we'll let that go for 1:30 seconds. And then once that is completed, we'll go ahead and flip it completely over and do the bottom half of it along with the actual bottom of the tumbler. Now here I noticed that my cardboard sort of slipped down between there, and I think it kind of blocked one area, so I'm just gonna let that go again for another 1:30 seconds just to be on the safe side. I want to make sure that it did completely get it and it didn't miss any spots. So my camera cut off here, so I had to go back in and I just let it go for an additional few seconds. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and flip that over. And now I like to start with my seam on the inside. And here we're just going to let go for 1:30 seconds. That is fully down on that plate. It's not lifted up at all on that portion because, again, we're going to sublimate the bottom of the actual tumbler itself with the sides. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And that's going to be for 1:30 seconds on each side as well. And the only reason why I did 1:30 seconds for this portion is because since we did the top for 1:30 seconds, I wanted to just do the whole entire tumbler for 1:30 seconds, just so that way no parts of it came out uneven. So look at that. You can see on the bottom where part of that design is already coming through and on the sides. So let's go ahead and check this out. Let's go ahead and look at the big reveal. I'm so excited. I absolutely hate taking off this tape though. It's like the most annoying thing ever. And okay guys, let me just suggest this. If you're going to use tape, not the silicone wraps or anything or the shrink wrap, use heat tape. I always use heat tape, but I ran out of it and my order should be here tomorrow. But you definitely want to use heat tape. Someone has said, oh, you can use masking tape. And I said, well, you know what? I have some of that sitting around. I'll use that, but I hate it. It's so sticky. So you know what? Let me go ahead and get this tape off and I'll be right back. Okay. So I have majority of the tape off, enough to be able to show you all. And let's just look at that top part already without the paper being off. Oh my goodness, let's get this reveal going. Look at that. Yes, it is so beautiful. I'm so excited. Yay, yay, yay. And there's no ghosting at the top. Those are clouds right there in the design. There's no ghosting here, no ghosting on that dark blue, none on the bottom whatsoever. Oh my goodness, this is beautiful, y'all. It turned out great. No ghosting in the seam. I mean, this is so beautiful. And then check out that bottom. So here you can tell it actually did work. There looks like there's still a part of it that didn't completely sub, but that again, that's the part that's going down towards the middle. So like I said before, if I would have made my text a lot smaller, because yeah, even just looking at that, it's big and bulky. That's just not cute at all. I wouldn't want to sell that to anyone, but just looking at that, you can just see that yes, if we were to make the text smaller and then actually put that on just the outer line, it would have sublimated perfectly. So it works, you all. And thank you to whoever suggested doing it at the same time as I do the sides when I'm closing it up, because that worked. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It worked. Although you see that inner part is kind of faded, again, we already know that that inner part is not getting the heat nor the pressure that it needs. It is the outer part of the bottom of the tumbler that's getting the pressure and the heat. So you want to make sure that you have it well enough to do it in that outer part. And again, like I said, there's no ink that was left over on my actual machine at the bottom, on the sides, or anything like that. And again, when you're putting this in on that way, you want to lift it up just well over that plate, so then that way you don't get that ghosting at the very top. Because again, you can look, you see it up close, those are clouds in the design. There's no ghosting anywhere. It's so beautiful. Oh my goodness, like look at that. I'm so excited. Yay. Oh my goodness. I hope you all are as excited as I am, because I was just like, you know what? My very first tumbler I did, it didn't ghost. My second one, it ghosted just a little bit, and I couldn't understand why. But this one, you know what? It didn't ghost at all, and I'm so happy with it. So yes, like I said, if you have the Cricut mug, use it. Use what you have. And I apologize. My tablet keeps running out of storage space. I have to delete some and then upgrade my storage space. So yeah, if you all enjoyed this, use what you have at home, whether it's a cardboard box, it's a silicone padding, or whatever. Use that. Just make sure that you make your text. If you're going to sublimate the bottom, just make sure you make the text a lot smaller than what I did, because one, that looks big and bulky. No one is gonna like that. I don't even like it now that I'm looking at it, but this was just a tester. And then also because you want to make sure that it fits directly on the outside line. So what I'm going to do is in the description, I'm going to measure out just that portion at the very bottom, that outside line, what the dimensions are, so then that way you'll know. And then if you decide to do it, you can do it yourself. But look at that, everyone. How beautiful is it? Yay. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Peace out.